Welcome back, everyone. In this section, we are going to combine all the topics, all the components that we have learned so far, and we are going to combine them to see how they work in Hyperledger Fabric in togetherness. Now, let us see in this slide. This is the simplest network. As we move forward in the next slides, you can see increasing. I'm gonna increase the complexity of the network. As you can see in this, you have a blockchain network. You have peers, and each peer is associated with smart contract and ledger. As you can see, we have three peers: peer 1, peer 2, and peer 3, and peer 1 is associated with the smart contract 1, peer 2 is associated with smart contract 1, peer 3 is also associated with smart contract 1. Similarly, ledgers or same ledger is associated with P1, P2, and P3. It is not necessary that you have the same smart contract and same ledger associated with all the peers. It will change as the network evolves. Now in this section, we are going to introduce some more components. So in the previous slide, we have seen only this part, which is peer, smart contract, and ledger. In this slide, we have introduced channel, application, and ordering service. As you can see, channel 1 is associated with P1 and P2, and application 1 is connected to channel 1, which has internally connected to P1 and P2. And you have channel 2. Channel 2 is connected to peer 3 and peer 4. Sorry, peer 4. And application 2 is connected to channel 2, and channel 2 talks to P3 and P4. So we have one more service, which is ordering service. So ordering service takes all the transaction, converts it into block, and it delivers to all the peers. Peers will take the block, it validates the block, and it adds to its local ledger. Now let us complicate this structure even more and see how Fabric works in its entirety. As you can see in this picture, you have certification authority, you have application, you have POs, you have smart contracts, you have ledger, you have orderer, channels, consortium, and you have channel policy, and you also have network policy. Now let us understand how all these work together. As you can see, certification authority is mainly responsible for providing the certificates. As you can see, certification authority CA1 is providing certificates to application 1 and peer 1. Similarly, certification authority 2 is providing certificates to application 2 and peer 2. Certification authority 3 is providing certificates to application 3 and peer 3. Certification authority 4 is providing certificate to ordering service, as you can see here. Now you can see there are two channel, one is C1 and C2. So for C1 channel, P1 and P2 are connected to C1, which is channel 1. So who will decide which POs has to connect to channel? That is where consortium comes into picture. As you can see here, the organization A and organization B has come to a consortium, and it has to abide by the channel policy CP1, and channel policy CP1 has to be followed for this channel C1, and RA is the organization A owns PO1, and P2 is owned by organization B. So they form the consortium and they form this channel. This is C1. As you can see, as this is part of RA and RB, application A1 and application 2 has access to C1, and it is ordered by the orderer O, which has to follow the rules, which is the network property, and it is owned by another organization, which is RD. Now moving on to the next channel, which is C2. As you can see, C2 is formed by RB and RC, which is organization B and organization C. As you can see here, P2 peer is part of C1 and also C2. So C2 is connected to P2 and P3, as you can see here. So, and in this diagram, A3 is the application which can which can connect to C2, which is channel 2. As you can see, the smart contracts have deployed on channel 1, which is smart contract 4 and smart contract 5 as per channel 1 on peer 1 and peer 2 respectively. As part of channel 2, on peer 2 and peer 3, we have smart contract 5, which is deployed on channel C2. That's why P2 and P3 has ES5 smart contract and L2 ledger associated with ES5 smart contract. As you can see in this picture, P2 is part of both channel 1 and channel 2. So that is the reason it has two smart contracts installed on top of it, and it is also associated with two ledger. So this is how the peers and applications and certification authority and the formation of consortium and ordering works. So as you can see, we have only one orderer here, which is handling both channel 1 and channel 2. And this orderer is responsible for taking all the transaction and creating the blocks according to network policies, which are defined by the organization D, which is RD. So in entirety, this is how the fabric network works, or this is how the fabric network formation happens. And these are the entities that comes together to form a fabric network. This is the explanation that I have just explained you. So feel free to go through it until you understand the concept. It is very important to understand the working of fabric, including all the components that we have learned so far. Please feel free to go through this again until you understand the concept really well. So that is it for this section. In the next section, we are gonna we are gonna prep ourselves for coding in Hyperledger Fabric, and so we are gonna install all the required software and packages. So that's it for this lecture. Stay tuned.